Speaking of makeup, and I'm about to, did you know that ancient Romans used toxic chemicals in their makeup, even though they were aware that they were super dangerous? Well, here are crazy beauty rituals and trends from ancient times to our days. Beauty came at a price back then. Romans used poisonous ingredients along with healthy and organic cosmetics. And yes, from the very beginning, they were aware that these chemicals weren't harmless. Here are 3 substances they used for the sake of beauty. The first one was cinnabar. It was a dangerous mix of chemicals. This substance contained red mercuric sulfide and red lead. Women applied cinnabar as a blush. Luckily, women in ancient Greece had organic alternatives to this monstrosity, such as rose petals. But would you be surprised to hear that mercury poisoning still exists today, caused by some skincare goods? The second sinister ingredient they added to their makeup routine was coal. It's a poisonous substance with multiple risks. For instance, it can cause abdominal cramps. Yet it was among the most popular beauty products back then and was used all over the place, from the Middle East to Africa. When picturing Cleopatra, you probably imagine her with dramatic eye makeup. It's believed she applied coal eyeliner. Yet coal differs from other types of cosmetics because it wasn't used just for the sake of beauty. Ancient Egyptians believed that it had spiritual and medicinal benefits. They were sure that this black substance protected their eyes from the sun. Plus, it was a shout-out to the Egyptian deity Horus and his falcon eyes, as well as the protection from evil spirits and the rage of other deities, such as Ra, who, by the way, was the god of cheerleaders. You know, rah-rah. Anyways, nowadays, most of the world has stopped using coal as an eyeliner, though in some parts of the world, such as India, people still use it. I'll mention whitening supplies more than once in this video, because people from various civilizations in different eras wanted to achieve that chalk-white look of their skin. Romans used a substance called cerussa, which means sugar of lead in Latin. Upper-class people wanted to make their faces look lighter. But although some Romans choose to use this dangerous whitening agent, others opted for another way, chalk dust, surely a much safer alternative. Lead is an extremely poisonous substance. It can cause skin ruptures and even worse consequences, but Romans allowed it to make its way into their cosmetic procedures. It was also used as a hair dye. It didn't stop there. Scholars believe that lead-lined cooking utilities caused poisoning in the long term, which could have helped bring the fall of the empire. Moving on. From the 15th to the 18th centuries, the skin of the whitest shade was the coolest look you could get. So people applied a combo of white lead and vinegar on their faces. This mixture made their skin peel off. They then applied lead sulfate to apparently remove freckles. In the long term, this routine resulted in irreversible damage. The skin would get all sorts of problems, so people would use other products to cover these imperfections up. But you know how skin health works. Once you try to hide something, you only make the situation worse. And once you start, you can't stop. By the way, if you had lived in ancient Greece, you couldn't have left your eyebrows as they were. A unibrow was part of the desired beauty standard. Frida Kahlo would have been even more iconic back then. People with unibrows were considered to be pure and intelligent. Women who didn't have a unibrow dyed goat hair and used it to connect their brows. Now that you're into hearing more about beauty standards of the past, we can carry on with some practices from Asia. Let's start with China's foot binding custom. There, the beauty package included having small feet, unnaturally small feet. This fashion lasted for centuries, from around the 13th century to the 20th. The authorities officially banned this practice in 1912. So, what was this custom about? Well, there was a saying that the most desirable bride possessed a 3-inch foot. Wow! This saying was so powerful that young women had to bind their feet from a very early age. Foot binding was a painful and hard procedure that affected women. With such tight bandages, their bones didn't grow naturally and properly. A grown-up person's feet would be very small and different from what they were supposed to be. Now, let's move from feet to hands. Fashion was used as an opportunity to show off your social status. Aristocrats had nails reaching up to 10 inches. As you can imagine, you can't do anything with such long nails, not even hold a spoon or brush your hair. That's why they had servants to help them with daily tasks. Plus, they wore special nail accessories. They looked like nail cages that were supposed to protect their nails from accidents. These nail guards were made of gold, so they could also show how privileged their owners were. Teleporting over to Japan, to that time when black teeth were popular. The practice of making your teeth black is called oaguro. It was the symbol of maturity and beauty. The teeth blackening solution contained iron filings, vinegar, tea, and some other ingredients. This mixture didn't cause permanent staining or damage to the teeth, but it's said to have smelled pretty bad. If you had accentuated veins in pre-revolution France, you were the center of attention. Blue veins were considered a sign of nobility and symbolized privileges. Back then, women used blue pencils to color the outlines of their veins, for instance, on their hands. Now, Queen Elizabeth I was probably the trendsetter for painting her face to make it look white and ghost-like. As I mentioned before, people used to douse their faces in white makeup in different eras. But those who lived in the 19th century took it a step further with arsenic wafers. Yes, arsenic indeed eliminates the red blood cells in the body. As a result, you get whiter skin. But the perfect pale skin came at a heavy price. People could also experience internal bleeding, hair loss, blindness, and other consequences. Similarly, the tuberculosis look was famous among Victorians. This disease resulted in red lips, thin waists, and pale skin. Romanticizing it. I know, disturbing. Now, there's a poisonous plant called belladonna. That means beautiful woman. Women used it to dilate their pupils so that their eyes looked darker and more expressive. That's where the name of the plant came from. Wide foreheads were admired in the Middle Ages. People were plucking their eyelashes and eyebrows. They also plucked the hairline to make it retreat further to the back of their heads. They believed that when they had a high forehead, they resembled a baby. And since babies were innocent and pure, they would look this way too. Wow, I hope they didn't mimic the other baby habits too. The next one didn't serve a cosmetic purpose at all. Marie Curie discovered radiation in 1898. Her invention changed so many things in the medical world. Cosmetics manufacturers wanted to benefit from this discovery. That's why companies started to use radiation in their products. They just jumped into it before analyzing the effects it could cause. In the 1920s and 30s, some companies advertised radioactive creams, soaps, and beauty products. I know it's hard to believe. Their go-to sentences involve phrases like revitalizes the skin and luminous energy. Yeah, and how about that healthy glow? Now, some honorable mentions. Fake eyelashes were once sewn into the eyelids. Corsets in the 18th and 19th centuries were so tight that they changed women's skeletons. These trends look weird and cruel to us, but don't underestimate the power of customs, traditions, and perception. Maybe 100 years from now, they'll look back at us and say the same thing about 21st century beauty practices. Do you get your share of this craziness, or do you want to hear more about creepy beauty trends from the past? Leave us a comment. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side. Well, in ancient Egypt, people wore heavy, donut-sized bracelets, giant earrings, necklaces, and their neck collars were totally bedazzled with beads and stones. Now, did they fall over from being so top-heavy? It doesn't say. They also invented wigs. Probably some ancient Egyptians didn't feel like styling their hair every single morning. Hey, I can relate. Just shave your head, pop on a wig, get to work on time. Some of the wigs had jewels in them too. Most Egyptian clothes were made of linen. No big surprise, it's hot over there. Even though they would normally wear kind of plain clothes, their jewelry had to pop. Wealthy or not, a large necklace was a must. If you wanted to turn heads, it had to be gold, but cheaper metals were popular too. Look closer at those Egyptian paintings. See those weirdly shaped cones popping out of people's heads? This head cone was made of a mix of wax and oils, and it was for… Wait, am I reading this right? It was supposed to melt thanks to your body heat and spread sweet-smelling oils everywhere. How lubricating. Cleopatra had her trademark eye makeup look, and Egyptians were probably the first to invent mascara. They'd mix honey, soot, water, and crocodile dung. Ooh. They'd apply this crazy mix right onto their lashes and eyebrows. It probably didn't smell all that great, but at least it was safer than those toxic lead eyeliners people used to use. All natural. Now, ancient Greeks took some style tips from their Egyptian neighbors, but they'd even wear clothes made from wool. Hot and sticky. Their clothes didn't come in a lot of color options. They were mostly white. But if someone really wanted to rock a colorful outfit, they needed to dye it themselves with insects. It's not a back-in-the-day thing. Every time you grab a couple of sugar-coated candies, remember this. Some of that coloring may have come from beetles. Your lipstick, too. Mwah! If you happen to be a wealthy ancient Greek, you'd be able to buy cotton. You, yes you, wearing a cotton t-shirt, watching this video. Do you feel as cool as a noble ancient Greek? And you probably take that rack of shoes you never wear for granted. But for an ancient Greek, shoes were a privilege. They mostly walked around barefoot. Just like in Egypt, Greeks were all about wigs. They were made mostly of natural hair. Way later, in the Middle Ages, people would powder their wigs, trying to give them a lavender or orange scent. And in those times, let's just say soap wasn't really a thing. So a powdered wig came in handy when people needed to cover up any unwanted smells. Clothes in ancient Rome were pretty similar to those worn in Greece. There were two main clothing types, togas and tunics. Tunics were worn by everyone, while only noble citizens of Rome could wear togas on top of their tunics. Togas were extremely wide and up to 18 feet long, so it was impossible to put them on without someone's help. Hey, didn't they have totally terrific togas and tunics? I think so. If you weren't really the kind of woman who loved doing the dishes, you would have loved wearing a dress with blow. Many centuries ago, women would wear clothes with absurdly long sleeves to show how noble they were. Imagine washing the floor with 5 inches of extra sleeve. Even though these sleeves restricted your movements a lot, they were still super trendy in medieval France. Hundreds of years ago, a lot of European men wore shoes that were ridiculous. These shoes had a unique feature: extremely long pointed tips. The nobler the person, the longer the tips. But once they got a bit too long, they started to sag. So people would stuff them with random things like moss and even horsehair. They looked like huge beaks. Back then, ladies had their trends too. For example, they would shave their eyebrows off. The forehead was the trending facial feature back then, and they wanted to stand out. England had some fashion trends that, Today, people shell out thousands of dollars to make their smiles perfect, white, and shiny. But back in Tudor England times, women would blacken their teeth on purpose to seem wealthy. Sugar was hard to come by, and only the wealthiest could afford it. It was widely believed that the wealthier you were, the more sugar you ate, and the blacker your teeth would get. Now, if you're already rocking some fake black teeth and you want to go full-out Tudor, try rocking this look. Back in the 16th century, men and women would stuff their sleeves with cotton, wool, sawdust. It was basically an old-timey fake muscle shirt, like the one you bought to go out under that Superman outfit you made last year but never wore to go out trick-or-treating. The more sleeve stuffing you had, the stronger you looked. Some men would stuff their calf area, even their bellies, just to look more muscular. Now add a ruffle around your neck supported by a metal corset to keep it all looking tight, and voila! You're a true Tudor. Now, if you were from Venice in the 16th century, you had to get yourself a chapine. These uncomfortable-looking shoes were created for walking through mud, but the real reason they got popular was 500-year-old Venetian Instagram. The shoes made you look taller, and the taller you were, the more important you were. Fashionistas of the day would have portraits of themselves painted wearing those shoes. Hey, gotta make your friends jealous. Now, macaroni isn't just cheese's best friend. It was also a way to dress that meant you had some serious class. If you want to try macaroni style, make sure you live in the middle 18th century, have an enormous exaggerated Empire State Building size wig with a teeny tiny hat and a feather on top. Wear bright stockings, preferably striped. Wear pants, the tighter the better. Ideally, they should be just like leggings, but remember there was no Lycra back then. Round it all off with a walking cane? Oops, almost forgot. Get ready to be mocked for the next few decades, or even centuries. Hey, if you're humming Yankee Doodle to yourself right about now, you get it. In the 19th century, things did not get even a little bit less crazy. Excessively large ruffled dresses were hot, and by hot I mean they used to catch on fire all the time. Tests revealed that that type of dress could burn to ash in under a minute. Ruthless. Socks were made with aniline, which, just like it sounds, can be pretty bad for you. They used mercury too. Hats were made of fur, and hat makers would use mercury to stick the fur together to make felt. People who wore them inhaled toxic gases. Another toxic ingredient, because two just wasn't enough, was arsenic. In Victorian England, green clothing was achieved by long chemical treatments with large amounts of toxic dye. Green dresses were extremely pricey, so at least not everyone was getting exposed to it. To complete the look, stylists recommend dyeing your hair chestnut brown, the hottest color of the era. Sulfuric acid worked best and could turn even the blackest hair lighter. So, to recap, they used to put toxins and poisons all over themselves. On purpose. Victorian women wore dresses that made it almost impossible to sit or walk. They wore crazy heavy crinolines, basically a cage you wear to make your dress look bigger, and metal corsets with horsehair stuffing. Victorian men didn't have it much better. They would pin starched unbendable collars to their shirts, and things could get pretty serious if you accidentally fell asleep wearing them. It's the 19th century in the USA, and they're using arsenic in their cosmetics. Manufacturers would add it to wafers, promising that their product would help get rid of any facial imperfections. The amount of arsenic they added did help clear the skin and make it paler, but veggies and fruit would have done the same job without being so dreadful for you. Radioactive cream didn't sound wild at all at the beginning of the 20th century. This radium-rich product was supposed to wipe away all your wrinkles and make anyone who used it look at least 20 years younger. Is this where the term "she has that healthy glow" comes from? Maybe the worst early 20th century fashion trend was the hobble skirt. It was designed to keep your legs almost tied together. They thought it would make your legs thinner. They were also a great way to cut costs by using less fabric. Wow, the things we've done for fashion. Uh-oh, you didn't hear the alarm. You're late for work. Great. You don't have time to pick out your clothes. You grab whatever. Usually you flip between several sweaters and pants, even if you're running late. But today, for some reason, you pick the first thing you see. And you actually make the bus. Score. You run out into the street and don't immediately notice that something is, let's say, a bit off. A woman walks past you carrying a cup of coffee. She's wearing jeans, socks, sandals, and an old sweater. Her clothes don't exactly go together. It's strange because you know her. She usually wears stylish clothes. Just then, a man dressed in a nightgown and sneakers gets on your bus. An old lady walks by in gray slacks, a pink jacket, and a biker bandana. Everyone's dressed so weirdly. You notice it, but whatever. For some reason, you don't care at all. You pull out your phone. Huh? Your new designer phone case doesn't seem stylish to you suddenly. It's bulky and barely fits in your hand. It's not practical at all. So you throw the case in the trash. You spent $500 on it. What were you thinking? At work, you notice that the fancy office plant has been moved. It used to be by the window and fit perfectly with the interior design. Now it's chilling in the corner, and there's more free space near the window. Several flashy movie posters are gone too. Your young boss, who's always dressed in the latest style, now looks ordinary. Gray sweater, gray pants, sneakers. That's when it hits you. Something is wrong. You open your laptop and check on the stock market. The economy's changed a lot in the last few hours. Shares of well-known brands and fashion houses have taken a nosedive. For some reason, something's happened in the human brain, and now the neurons responsible for your sense of individuality and self-identity aren't working like they used to. Designers responsible for clothing, websites, furniture, cars, their work suddenly seems meaningless. People all over the world go out on the street in whatever clothes were at the top of their clean laundry pile. No more standing in front of the closet for ages, choosing the perfect outfit for the day. You just want to be comfortable. In the first months after the disappearance of fashion, the world begins to dump thousands of tons of unnecessary clothes, shoes, posters, ornaments, loads of stuff. You no longer own 10 t-shirts, 15 dresses, or 8 pair of pants. You keep 2 sets of the simplest clothes and get rid of everything else. Closets? Useless. You can store all your clothes on a chair by your bed. Suddenly, you've got a whole walk-in closet you can transform into, yeah, I got nothing. Exhibitions of contemporary art, original theatrical productions, and all aspects of fashion life. That stuff suddenly doesn't interest people anymore. A fashion show seems like a weird way to spend a Friday night. People stop going to them. Everyone gets a little richer. No one bothers saving up for an expensive car. The main thing is that it works, nothing else. Everyone that bought a second fancy car to show off at the boss's picnic, they're selling them off cheap. Automakers stop painting their cars. They equip them with a practical interior and the factory standard gray. Remembering where you parked your car after the movies, still a big problem. Clothing manufacturers create new styles, dark green casual jumpsuits for all occasions. It's got pockets, a detachable hood, and a fake fur lining, also detachable. You can wear it any day of the year. Everyone starts to look the same. Sports stars stop endorsing clothing brands. Sneaker collectors get rid of hundreds of pairs of limited edition shoes. No one makes comments about anyone else behind their backs anymore. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. People don't just get more similar, they get more equal too. No more dress codes anywhere. It's awesome. Now people only buy new clothes if their old ones get ripped or if something breaks. People save a lot of money, and bank accounts get fatter. And it saves a huge number of natural resources. Billions of gallons of water used to be spent on fashion every year. It takes 1,800 gallons of water to make 1 pair of jeans. Fertilizers, pesticides for growing cotton, chemicals for making dyes, all a thing of the past. Also, humanity uses less water by just washing fewer clothes. The earth is grateful. Fashion isn't only about clothes, cars, and shoes. People's way of life and sense of style change too. Let's say you used to go to a chic cafe every day, grab a coffee, and stop by the new exhibit of some abstract artist or other. You don't even like the paintings, but you still go because everyone's talking about how life-changing it is. You want to be seen there. Then you go to a Pilates class and post about it later. You never realized it, but some of your lifestyle was dictated by fashion. It influenced you. Now, you're free to be you. Are all of your friends talking about some awesome new movie? A year ago, you would have run to the movie theater that night, but now you don't bother. That kind of movie's not really your thing anyway. On the one hand, fashion can rob you of your individuality. If you're a creative, wacky person by nature, you won't be able to express yourself with a designer suit. Sure, now everyone wears the same stuff as everyone else, but it's not because they think they must look good. It's comfortable and practical. Other people's opinions don't affect you anymore. You're guided by your own instincts and begin to trust yourself more than ever. The music industry is changing. Artists don't follow trends anymore. New genres are being invented every week. The big music studios aren't doing too well, though. The virtual world is changing beyond recognition. You open your social media and it's all different. People don't care about fashion anymore. Suddenly, they're also not into reposting hashtags and doing viral challenges. People don't spend their time creating the perfect selfie with the perfect background, filter, angle. People start posting pics of their regular life, no Photoshop. It seems like soon, social media is only used by people who run companies that sell stuff that's necessary. Ordinary people don't post photos to get likes anymore. It's a weird new world. No one's camping outside the mall to get the latest phone. I mean, the one you got is rather good already. All those tech industries lose a lot of money. The most popular videos on YouTube are ones about news, life hacks, practical tips on how to repair stuff around the house, health, nutrition, that sort of thing. Fashion bloggers are losing millions of subscribers every day. And everything's getting less fancy, sparkly, expensive. No one's spending money making their latest video look extra stylish. Stating the facts, that's all people want now. The world's become a lot less glamorous, but people are way more skilled at all kinds of useful stuff. After a few generations, people don't just wear the same clothes, shoes, drive the same cars, and build the same style houses. People start thinking and talking the same. In all areas of life, there's much less choice than before. And imagination, creativity, uniqueness, that stuff's all gone. People don't even know what the word diversity means, and it's ridiculously easy to predict how people are going to act, what they're going to say. There's not much mystery in the world anymore. Humanity's focus on practicality makes everyone's life a lot more boring. Along with fashion, other entertainment forms also have disappeared. Movies, music, books, gone. All that matters is life skills, food, and a roof over your head. Life's simple again. People start to act like a totally different species, more like ants. Sure, people become less unique, but they all start working together much better and start to create amazing international projects. Pretty soon, every person on Earth has electricity, internet, and running water. The whole world's working in harmony, like a giant ant colony. Yep, it turns out there is a reason the Queen wears bright colors as opposed to earthy tones. It is done so she can be seen. Of all colors, the Queen's most used one is blue, which is at least 29% of her engagements, followed by florals, which is 13%, while green and cream tied for third, being 11% each. The Queen has a very particular sense of style. She loves a good hat. Her black top-handled handbags usually match her sensible shoes, and she often wears gloves to her various engagements. Every once in a while, she'll choose a dark ensemble for a somber occasion, or an olive gray jacket for a horseback ride on the grounds of Windsor Castle. Sophie, Countess of Wessex, explained her mother-in-law's penchant for rainbow shades. She needs to stand out for people to be able to say they saw the Queen. Don't forget that when she turns up somewhere, someone wants to be able to say they saw a bit of the Queen's hat as she went past. It's something her granddaughter-in-law, Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge, has already started to mimic. On the royal tour of Canada in 2016, for example, Kate was spotted wearing bright red several times, again, because she wanted the crowds to be able to see her. The fashion choices of the royals can have great social impact, with the clothes they wear often selling out quickly. The Queen is always seen carrying her little black handbag. She is known to use the placement of her bag to send signals to staff, such as when she wants a conversation with someone to end. Her Majesty will move her handbag from one hand to the other to indicate when she is ready to move on from talking to someone. When she wants to leave an event, she will place the handbag on the table. The Queen doesn't travel as much as she used to, but she does still welcome distinguished guests from all over the world. Her clothes often have subtle additions related to the guest's country as a sign of respect. For a 2010 tour of Canada, dressmakers designed a gown that featured crystal maple leaves and a jacket with cuffs that featured a pattern designed by an indigenous chief. While on a trip to Abu Dhabi, they added beading to a coat to mirror the walls of the mosque she would visit while wearing it. The Queen is often seen wearing a pair of gloves, not just because she likes the style, but for protection too. During public events, she greets people and shakes many hands, so the gloves protect her from exposure to germs. Duchess Kate Middleton has worn different bright colors during virtual calls through 2020, which some believe is her way of showing support for the UK's National Health Service. Since the start of 2020, rainbows have been used as a symbol of solidarity for healthcare workers on the front line. When then Princess Elizabeth married Prince Philip in 1947, her wedding dress was designed to be symbolic of the nation. With Britain still in the thick of rationing food and clothing then, the intention was to send a message of national renewal. Instead of showing luxurious fabric, royal dressmaker Norman Hartnell focused on a gown with garlands of spring flowers, reportedly inspired by Botticelli's painting Allegory of Spring. The Queen is famous for her bright and bold hats, which she is often pictured wearing while performing official engagements. Dress code etiquette states that women wear hats for formal events. Up until the 1950s, ladies were very seldom seen without a hat, as it was not considered the thing for ladies to show their hair in public. But all of that has changed, and hats are now reserved for more formal occasions. As Britain's longest reigning monarch, the Queen is widely admired. Her image symbolizes tradition and peace to the British people. Vivid colors like bright yellow, deep purplish red, jolly green, and majestic blue make the Queen's bold wardrobe so distinctive. It has spawned entire books dedicated to recording each beaming outfit. The monarch's commitment to a vibrant color palette is a sign of respect for those who take the time to support her in person. Over her 60-year reign, the Queen has gathered plenty of staffers, but few have been trusted with the task of royal dressmaker. British designers have all helped develop her style, steering clear of trends that can quickly fall out of favor. When she wears a dark outfit, her fashion comes with a 3-strand pearl necklace and a sparkling antique brooch set in either gold or silver. Her glossy luxury handbag can usually be found in the crook of her elbow. In 2016, when the U.S. presidential couple arrived at Windsor Castle to meet Her Majesty for the third time, the Queen wore a silk scarf fastened under her chin, a defining feature of her more casual outfits. Always strategic, the Queen's style shows who the British people are while keeping a firm handshake to the other country's leaders. In 2011, Her Majesty visited the Republic of Ireland. She was the first British monarch to enter the country in a century. She arrived in Dublin wearing a green coat and matching hat, Ireland's national color. Later in the visit, she wore a white silk gown decorated with more than 2,000 hand-sewn shamrocks and an Irish harp brooch. Yeah, Queen Elizabeth has lots of impressive outfits and hats. But you ever notice her shoes? The Queen's footwear is as carefully crafted and looked after as one could imagine a pair of royally worn shoes would be. But the Queen's work shoes are something she has worn for over a half a century. Each and every one of the Queen's shoes is made by a dedicated team, including a pattern cutter, a clicker, who is a person in charge of selecting the leather, a closer, who sews the shoe's upper part and stiffens the shoe, and a maker, who tops it all off with a sole and a heel. Her shoes are made from the finest calf leather, and before the shoes can be properly worn, a final fitting at Buckingham Palace will take place. The Queen is said to keep 10 pairs on rotation at a time, which includes plain black leather, among others. They are all hand-dyed and water-repellent. No basketball shoes here. The Queen relies on her shoes so she won't easily slip and fall. As a young woman, she often wore shoes with a thinner, lighter heel. But now, for nearly 50 years, the same low style has kept her sure-footed and nimble. The Queen seems to have an endless supply of coats, hats, and dresses, all of which are much discussed when she makes a public appearance. Just like anybody, the Queen does eventually get tired of certain items in her wardrobe. The Queen's clothes are a constant source of comment in the media, and she will wear a favorite outfit for years. When she finally tires of it, she will hand it to one of her dressers, who can either wear it or sell it. Unfortunately, no one knows if an item once belonged to the Queen. All labels must be removed, and anything that could possibly identify it as having come from royalty is destroyed. Since items are sold, royal attire has ended up on sale to the general public before, but most likely no one had a clue. Many of the Queen's clothes are designed and made at the palace by senior dresser Angela Kelly and her team. Kelly sketches at least 4 different designs for a particular piece of fabric from which the Queen can choose. After the talks with the Queen and dresser, Kelly produces a technical drawing from which the pattern is cut. Everything is cut and shaped to match a mannequin made to the Queen's size, details that are kept top secret. A prototype is then made from rough cotton, allowing the design to be tweaked before the final fabric is cut. Fitting sessions typically last half a day. 4 or 5 outfits are fitted at each session to make the best use of time. Up to 12 people staff the Queen's wardrobe department for big occasions, including 3 dressmakers, a milliner, and 4 dressers, whose job is to help the Queen get dressed as well as keep her clothes in pristine condition. Yep, it's good to be the Queen. According to Chinese acupuncture practice, nerve endings in our scalp are connected with those in our fingers. So every time you rub your nails together, it stimulates hair growth because it helps increase blood flow. Nail rubbing helps to stop hair loss too. It might take 3 to 6 months to achieve visible results, but the main point is to do it regularly. Surprisingly, this simple action can even stop the premature gray hair from appearing, all thanks to the increased blood flow. Another positive change you may notice if you practice nail rubbing on a daily basis is that the follicles that were no longer active literally revive. Don't expect any change the day after you start nail rubbing. This process is long, up to 9 months, but the results are worth it. Here's how you do it. First, form a half fist. The thumb should be outwards. Now that the nails touch each other, rub them vigorously for 5 to 10 minutes. They call it Balium yoga, and it works wonders if you do it right. If you're really into yoga, then try these asanas to help your hair grow too. Probably the best one is standing forward bend. Stand straight and make sure your legs are close to each other. Breathe in, and while you're breathing out, bend forward and lift your hands. Ideally, your fingers should touch the floor, but those who just started practicing it might not reach it. It's okay. The more you practice, the more flexible you are. If you can, place your hands behind your heels. Breathe normally and hold this asana. No, really. When you're ready to bend upward, inhale and do it slowly. Always warm up before trying this asana. Mountain pose can be a good start for the yoga sesh, and it also helps strengthen your hair. The secret here is to keep toes together while arms should align with the torso. Breathing is essential. You elongate the body inhaling, and while exhaling, you bring the shoulder blades back to normal. Even though it's quite simple, it does involve the major muscles and helps the digestive system, which supplies nutrients to the hair. Poor digestion and stress triggers hair loss a lot. Diamond pose helps reduce stress and makes your gut healthier. To try it, sit on the floor straight and stretch your legs. Make sure your heels are together. Place your palms by your sides. They should face the ground. The legs should be folded now. Then, place your hands on the thighs. Relax and breathe deeply. When you're ready to finish the asana, go back to the original position and stretch your legs. By the way, it's the only asana that can be done after a meal. One more asana that helps your blood circulate right to the scalp is called raised leg pose. It's super simple. Lie on the ground and place your palms on the floor, arms straight along your body. Stretch your body and then slowly raise your legs up. The ideal angle is about 45 to 60 degrees. It might be pretty tough to hold them this way, but you should try to do it for at least 1 minute. Blood circulation is vital for your scalp since it provides nourishing. If it's nourished, the hair grows fast and you never experience dryness. Yoga is great, but there are more ways to help your hair grow naturally. Lavender oil is great for your hair. It can even help in your struggle with seasonal hair loss too. Add a few drops of lavender oil to your shampoo or hair conditioner and you'll see the difference. Don't add the oil right to the bottle. Chances are the oil will simply separate. And never rub it directly into the scalp. Mix the shampoo and oil in your palm. Chamomile tea can also help you with the hair loss if you rinse your hair with it after regular washing. It also reduces eye puffiness when applied onto a cotton pad. It's also good for those who want to calm down, and even helps to heal scratches if your cat was aggressively playful recently. It's thanks to its antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties. Don't underestimate scalp scrubs since they really help with blood circulation. Most of those you can get in the store are made with salt, but it can be pretty harsh for sensitive skin. Try to make your own scrub mixing 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, and 1 teaspoon of vinegar, the apple variety ideally. It's also great to add a few drops of essential oil. lavender, rosemary, orange, but make sure you're not allergic to them, so a patch test is highly recommended. Apply this mixture right on your scalp and massage for a couple of minutes. Then wash your hair as usual. Use it once every 1 or 2 weeks. Now, coconut oil can be a good helper for damaged ends too. If it seems to you that no matter how long you grow your hair, it just doesn't get any longer, it means the hair actually gets broken at the ends. Not only does it prevent breakage, but coconut oil also moisturizes and softens all hair types. Another natural remedy is aloe vera. It's really useful not only for your hair, but for your skin too. It soothes perfectly and helps stop the hair loss. All you need to do is to apply aloe vera gel right on your hair and scalp and let it sit for some time. A simple shower cap can make your hair unrecognizably beautiful. All you need to do is put it on and leave overnight, or at least for a couple of hours. The heat builds up in that sort of a greenhouse on your head, which increases sebum production. You'll have to wash it the next morning, but it's certainly worth it since sebum nourishes the hair like nothing else does. Heat isn't always great for your hair though. Give it a rest from styling devices sometimes and opt for air drying. It takes longer and the result probably doesn't look as good as when you style your hair with a blow dryer or a heat straightener, but the hair needs such breaks every now and then. The way you sleep matters a lot too. In case you've got a super comfortable pillow, make sure you change its case often. It accumulates a bunch of germs, and they can harm your skin and hair. You might also want to try a silk pillowcase. It doesn't stretch either your skin or your hair. They're also less drying for hair and skin, since silk absorbs less moisture than cotton. If detangling dry hair when you wake up sounds like a normal morning routine, you might want to try sleeping without a pillow for the sake of your mane. We all toss and turn at night. Every time you roll in bed having a bad dream or trying to fall asleep, you rub your hair against the pillowcase, which causes breakage. As for hair, another big no is going to sleep when it's still wet. Not only does it cause hair damage and extra tangling, but it's also not hygienic. Every time you wash your hair, give your scalp a vigorous massage. There's nothing complicated about it, just rub your fingers against your scalp in a circular motion. The more you rub the scalp under the shower, the better. It's not only about the massage, but also about rinsing off the shampoo. If your hair gets greasy really fast, it probably means you don't rinse your hair after using shampoo or conditioner. Biotin is essential for hair growth. Still, it's not necessary to buy supplements. Sometimes it's enough to adjust your diet a bit. If you add eggs, whole grains, milk, nuts, and lean protein like meat to your meals, it can be more than enough. Remember that very few people can actually digest milk. There's a special enzyme in our bodies that breaks down the sugars any milk has. When people grow up, many of them run out of this enzyme. This sugar's called lactose, so adults that cannot digest it are lactose intolerant. About 68% of the world's population can actually digest milk. Bone broth is a wonderful source of vitamins both for your hair and skin. It's packed with collagen and biotin. Plus, according to the Chinese medicine, kidneys govern the hair, and bone broth can help keep your kidneys strong and healthy. No matter if you live in a hot or cold climate, if you want to have gorgeous locks, a hat is a must. In winter, negative temperatures damage the follicles, so you might accidentally start losing your hair. Uh-oh. Exposure to direct sun rays is no good either, since the sun dries out both the hair and the scalp. So, put on your hat. If you never cut your hair ever again, it would grow long for sure, but not endlessly. That means the real-life Rapunzel would probably have to provide her knight with a ladder first. You also wouldn't be able to wipe the floor with your hair or use it as a hammock. There are 3 different parts in a hair strand: the cuticle, the cortex, and the medulla. Now pay attention. The cuticle is the outer layer, made of a sort of overlapping cells, similar to fish scales or even roof tiles facing downwards. This part protects those inner layers from damage. Shiny and healthy hair has flat and smooth cuticles. The cortex is made up of keratin. It's a fibrous protein from which most of your hair strength comes. Another important element in the cortex is melanin. It determines if you're going to have red, brown, or some other color hair, depending on the amount of it. The cortex can stay healthy if the cuticle is in good shape and not ruined from chemical processing, dry and harsh weather conditions, or other things that can damage your hair. And finally, there's the medulla. It's a softer, semi-hollow hair center, present only in thicker hair types. Fine and blonde hair don't have it. Each of your hairs has its very own individual hair follicle. There's a hair bulb at the base of these follicles, and they contain your growing hair cells. They multiply, divide, and push upwards all the time. When they're at the upper part of the bulb, they arrange into a thing we actually know as hair. Hair has 3 phases of growth. The first one is when cells in the hair bulb multiply and push their way through the follicle. This is when you get new hair growing, about a ½ an inch per month. The second phase is when hair stops growing because roots get cut off from your circulatory system, which is why it doesn't get blood supply anymore. And the third one is when your hair starts falling out, 50 to 100 hairs per day. Sounds like a lot at first, but don't worry, when the hair is falling out, your body already grows a new one. The fact that you shed hair is the reason why it has limits when it comes to length. Also, no trimming, shaving, or cutting will make your hair grow faster. Its maximum length depends on how long the phase of growth is. The longer it lasts, the longer your hair is going to be. Still, our hair can't grow forever, which is why it's different in length on our head and face or body. The growth phase of your hair head lasts around 2 to 6 years, depending on the genetics. That explains why not everyone can grow their hair the same way to the same length, not even with fancy shampoos and other methods. Sure, taking good care of your hair and keeping it healthy helps its growth, but can't do much more than it's written in your genes. Body hair is shorter because the phase when hair grows isn't so lasting. Only after a couple of weeks, the body sends stop signals to your hair body follicles, which is why this hair is much shorter than on your head. Scientists believe this may be happening because our head hair has a bigger role when it comes to protection. The head is more sensitive and needs to be protected from direct sunlight or some other extremes. A Chinese woman got into the Guinness World Records with a hair length of 18 feet 5 inches. It was measured in 2004 when she was 44 years old, and she started growing her hair at the age of 13. Around 95% of our skin is covered in hair. Yes, hair can literally grow anywhere on our body, except for the soles of our feet, palms, lips, and mucous membranes. We actually have the same amount of hair follicles per square inch of our skin as a chimpanzee. Bone marrow is the fastest growing tissue in our body, but the hair comes right behind it. When it falls out, it regrows in most cases, and does so up to 20 times over our lifetime. As I said before, no product can be magic and force your hair to grow more than your genetic code allows. But your hair grows a bit faster on warmer days. Heat affects circulation, which boosts your hair growth. Also, it grows faster when you sleep. Not always did scientists assume hair growth is mostly related to genetics. For instance, if you went to see a doctor in the 16th century, they would advise you to encourage your hair to grow with a mixture of olive oil, honey saffron, and boiled slugs. Ew. On average, the human head contains more than 100,000 hair follicles. If you had $1 for every strand, whoa! You'd get an even better dollar deal for counting hair follicles on your body, since there are 3 to 5 million of them. Plucked your hair accidentally? No worries, a new one starts to grow right after that happens. In fact, 90% of our hair is growing, and the remaining 10% is resting all the time. Hair may seem all helpless and thin, but it's much stronger than we think. One strand can support up to 6.5 pounds. That means an entire head of hair can take a weight of 2 tons. Compared to a copper wire of the same thickness, our hair comes out as the stronger one. Not only that, our hair is definitely more elastic than we thought. When it's wet, you can stretch a strand by up to an additional 30%. Still, not recommended if you want your hair to stay healthy. If you never shaved a beard, it could grow to more than 30 feet in a lifetime. There's less than 4% of the population with natural red hair. At the same time, black hair is the most common. Remember that protein stuff called keratin in the cortex of the hair? Well, the same substance can be found in the outer layer of our skin and nails. But it's also a very important part of animal tails, manes, hooves, or claws. In the 1950s, only 7% of women dyed their hair. Just about half a century later, that went up to 75%. An eyelash has an average lifespan of around 90 to 150 days. When you cut your hair, it won't make it grow faster, but it will at least help to deal with split ends. No way to fix those anyway. How thick your hair is going to be depends on the size of the follicle. You can see hair texture and the different cross-section shapes hair has under the microscope. Curly hair is oval, while straight hair mostly comes in a round shape. Each of your follicles has its own muscle, nerve, and of course, blood supply. When we're scared, cold, or excited, we have goosebumps. They happen when muscles responsible for each strand contract. The average lifespan of one strand of hair is 2 to 7 years. Our hair is a true storehouse of all kinds of information. Analyzing just one strand can tell a lot about the bloodstream, vitamins, minerals, and so many other things in our body. Ooh, DNA. Follicles are totally independent of each other. So no wonder your hair sometimes doesn't cooperate when you want to get those disobedient strands done. The first commercial shampoo showed up in the 1930s. People used soap detergents before that. Hair can absorb oil from water. Now, earlier I said we get goosebumps when we're cold or really excited. That happens because every muscle of each hair strand starts contracting, which is why hair rises. Animals also get goosebumps. It's an evolutionary feature that helps them stay warm. For instance, when animals that have fur or a thicker coat are cold, the hair rises, which creates insulation. That way, they retain heat. Animals generally have dense hair because it has to be wind and waterproof. For example, a piece of beaver skin, which is the size of a fingertip, has around 40,000 hairs. Thick fur could be a problem for animals, since the liquid under the fur wouldn't be able to evaporate. Luckily, evolution took care of that part, so they don't sweat. The period when hair grows fastest is between 16 to 24 years old. Those classical barber shops you see in movies were rather popular before. After safe razors showed up, people could shave at home, so they didn't have to go to barber shops all that much. Oh, and about those irritating cowlicks. 95% of right-handed people grow them in a clockwise direction. Finally, we left out the part about the hair that grows out of your nostrils when you get older because, well, we didn't want to scare you. Maybe some other time. It's amazing how some parts of your body, like lips, ears, or even hair, can tell so much about your personality. So be careful. Your nails can give you away. Nails. If your fingernails are broad, you're likely to be an easygoing, broad-minded, and balanced person. Such nails are also typical for honest, patient, and calm people. But those whose nails are both broad and long often say everything that enters their mind. They love meeting new people, are detail-oriented, and stay calm in tough situations. Square nails can be a sign of an impatient person. Such people are quick thinkers. They also don't like wasting money. Long and narrow nails are typical for sociable people. They love romance and don't like staying indoors. If you have such a nail shape, you are most likely organized and have an eye for beautiful things. Short and small nails give away people who get excited easily. Sometimes they can be a bit impatient and act impulsively. At the same time, these people are deep thinkers. If you have rounded or oval fingernails, you're most likely positive, open-minded, and cheerful. You're also a quick learner. This nail shape is typical for people who are independent and creative. Triangle or fan-shaped nails that are wider at the tips are associated with people who tend to get anxious. At the same time, they're masters of analysis and can make a living doing all kinds of research. People with triangle nails that are wider at the base, or those who have almond-shaped nails, are usually creative. They're also sensitive and gentle. C-shaped nails that are curving down a bit are associated with a hard-working personality. People with such nails try hard to achieve their goals. They're brave, have their own opinion, and can stand up for themselves. People with nails that look like tall rectangles know how to look after themselves. They're goal-oriented, independent, and don't really care about other people's opinions. Hair. People with curly hair are generous and have warm-hearted personalities. They are often described as having some fire inside. Their main features are passion, expressiveness, and intuition. They usually do things faster than other people. At the same time, it can be tricky for curly-haired individuals to focus on one thing for too long. Creative and innovative people often have wavy hair. They're energetic, emotional, and have strong willpower. If your friend has wavy hair, be especially careful with their feelings. They can be hurt more easily than you might think. And keep in mind, they need regular alone time. Most people with red hair are cheerful and fun-loving. They can't stand being bored and have an amazing sense of humor. They prefer to keep things light, but can be spectacular drama queens. The thicker your hair is, the stronger your willpower is, and the more energy you have. People with thick hair are often rather stubborn. Thin hair often indicates a delicate personality. People with such hair tend to conserve their energy. They usually don't like extreme sports. If your hair is straight but you keep curling it, you want more fun in your life. There's a theory that by doing it, you try to make your hair and your life more interesting. But if you try to straighten your curly hair, it may mean your life is too chaotic at the moment. By flat ironing your curls, you subconsciously try to calm down. People with very short hair don't like fussing over problems and other unpleasant things, but they tend to ignore their feelings. Those with long hair, who favor wash and go, are often romantic and creative. They go with the flow and try to pay attention to their emotions. People with medium-length hair are good thinkers. Logic is crucial for them. They're goal-oriented and competitive, but can easily get frustrated. They also tend to be impatient. Bald people, or those who shave their heads, are often romantic. It's believed they have a big heart, the ability to love, and a lively personality. A layered hairstyle is typical for perfectionists. It needs to be done accurately to look its best. In most cases, only a person who likes everything to be ideal can pull it off. If you see an out-of-the-box haircut, the chances are this person's gonna be fun. People with a blunt cut usually value logic. They know how to set goals and reach them. Those who opt for a high and polished ponytail or sleek comb back hair are usually go-getters. They love it when everything's logical. These people are often athletic. Eyebrows. Round eyebrows are typical for kind people who usually think about others' needs. When they make a decision, it's usually a win-win for everybody. People with peaked eyebrows are rather spontaneous. They often make decisions based on the emotions they feel at the moment. Queen's eyebrows are placed high on a person's face. They give away people with amazing taste and a sense of style. They're often perfectionists, and that's why it's hard for them to make decisions. They try to find the only right one. Such people are often self-critical and worry about their choices. If your eyebrows are straight, you're a logical person. It's important for you to think things through carefully. You're rarely impulsive. People with thin eyebrows often have low self-esteem. On the bright side, they're never pushy or unfriendly. Having long eyebrows usually means you have a kind, gentle personality. Such people also have extra strength. It helps them deal with their numerous friends' problems without getting overwhelmed. People with short eyebrows are very independent. They don't have many friends and prefer to tackle difficulties on their own. They also don't like asking for help. If the ends of your eyebrows are higher than the inner parts, you're a person with some extreme emotions. You often react to things that happen and don't try to change the situation. If you have hard arched eyebrows, you're a sensitive person. It takes you much time to get comfortable with people. You also tend to hold back. Ears. People with ears that look somewhat square are creative and have a rich imagination. They're not only smart and intelligent, but also rather sensitive. When it comes to choosing friends, their standards are extremely high. If your ears are narrow, you're thoughtful and don't like saying meaningless things. That's why people often think you're an introvert. In reality, small talk is just not your thing. But once you find a person who shares similar interests as you and who you trust, there's no stopping you. People with ears that stick out often have unusual ideas about life. They prefer doing things their own way. They're friendly, but can be a bit quirky. That's why few people can truly understand and appreciate them. Pointed ears are typical for those who have a sharp mind. They're keen observers who love analyzing people and situations. It helps them understand others' intentions and connections between different events. If your ears are round, you're sensitive and extremely loyal. At the same time, you expect the same loyalty from those around you, and this can lead to disappointment. Even the smallest betrayal can throw you off. It might be difficult for you to forgive people. Broad ears are often associated with people who lead a laid-back lifestyle. They know how to let things go and don't worry about stuff that hasn't happened yet. This approach can backfire, leading to unpleasant consequences. Luckily, such people have loads of friends who can guard their back. People with attached earlobes are generous and have a big heart. Their warm and welcoming personality encourages others to ask for advice and get it. Paradoxically, people with such ears are also reserved and a bit introverted. They prefer to stay away from all kinds of social gatherings. Lips. People with large, puffy lips like taking care of someone or something. They often feed stray cats and dogs or help animal shelters. In stressful situations, these people think first about others and then about themselves. When the upper lip is larger than the lower one, a person is emotional, charismatic, and a bit of a drama queen. They love being the center of attention and have a high opinion of themselves. If your lower lip is larger than the upper one, office work isn't for you. You're curious, sociable, and open to new things. You can't live without new places to see, new people to meet, and new things to experience. People with thin lips don't mind being left alone. They rely mostly on themselves and can cope with any problem. But even though they love solitude, they feel great in a group of people. It's easy for them to find a common language with others. Now guys, make sure you don't forget to put on a belt. If your pants are even slightly too large, you'll expose your underwear, which most people don't actually want to see. Try not to overdo it either. Suspenders don't look good when paired with a belt. This guy is so handsome. Hey, he's coming up to you. Your heart's beating rapidly. He takes your breath away. Ugh. Apparently, you can't actually breathe when he's next to you. And it's not because of his breathtaking beauty, but his breathtaking perfume. Okay, this one's not about clothing, but too much perfume is a total turn-off. Wear the right amount on the right spots. Apply it to pulse points, wrists, neck, and chest. Pointy-toe shoes, unfortunately, won't make you look elegant. They'll make your feet look gigantic and probably a bit clownish, especially if matched with sweatpants. There are many shoe mistakes that many men should avoid, like no sandals and socks together and no square-toed shoes either. Velcro shoes may seem really comfy, but don't wear them if you're trying to look classy. If your favorite pair of shoes are flip-flops, well, let's face it, the only suitable place for flip-flops is a beach or your yard. Suits are possibly the best outfit for any man. Always leave the last button on the jacket open, and you should always unbutton your jacket while sitting. Shirts are the opposite. They should always be buttoned to the top. Never match a sports watch with an elegant suit, even if you love this watch because your grandma gave it to you for Christmas and you haven't taken it off since. The main thing about the suit is the fit. Make sure the jacket literally embraces your shoulders. Otherwise, you risk looking like you're wearing a potato sack. You should know how to pair your suit with warm clothes. You'll want to look smart in winter too. If it's cold outside and you need a coat, keep in mind that the whole ensemble looks better if the jacket and coat have similar lengths. If not, make sure you close the coat so no one can see the length difference. As for a tie, which often goes hand in hand with a formal shirt and jacket, there's a rule about its length too. Don't make it too short. The tip of the tie should cover the belt buckle. Match the tie clip cover with the color of the cuffs, buttons, and belt buckle. Play it safe. Opt for neutral colors such as gray or silver. As for the tie color, it should match the color of your suit and shirt but provide at least one color accent to pop. A bow tie seems a bit more challenging to match with the rest of your clothes, but let's be honest, you can wear it whenever you want as long as it fits your overall style. Still, there's a rule when bow ties are an absolute must. If you have to wear a tuxedo, a bow tie is required. Never combine a tuxedo with a regular tie. To upgrade your look to a brand new level, try to add a blazer to your wardrobe. It can be unstructured and relaxed, creating a casual look, but looking way smarter than an old cardigan. Try owning 2 blazers for different seasons. A lightweight one should be made of linen or cotton and is ideal for summer. A second should be heavier, with some wool to warm you in the winter. A blazer can be paired with trousers, jeans, chinos, and even shorts, as long as they're not workout shorts. Jeans seem to be one of the few clothing items that are suitable for almost any occasion. But it can be easy to choose the wrong pair and spoil your look. The best pair of jeans you can invest in should be slightly wider in the thigh but narrower in the ankles. This fit works great with elegant shoes and good old trainers. As for the color, it's a bit wiser to choose darker shades since they're suitable all year round. Ripped jeans have been in fashion and they're probably here to stay, but they shouldn't be the only ones you have. Just make sure you have a good pair of jeans that match any item from your wardrobe, and then feel free to get yourself a ripped pair. A fun t-shirt with bright prints is great for parties and informal meetings, but try not to wear them to the office, even if you don't have a dress code. Yeah, the pattern is probably interesting, and maybe the "My mom thinks I'm handsome" inscription is hilarious. Still, your colleagues, and especially your super serious boss, may draw the wrong conclusions about you. Now, don't forget to match your socks with your shoes. Black shoes and white socks are a total no. The darker the footwear, the darker the socks should be. If you don't own any black socks, head to the closest department store and get some. You look better wearing a baseball cap only if it's been 5 days since you last washed your hair. Otherwise, this accessory is sure to make you look like a college freshman. If you're totally into hats, try wearing something different. Depending on your style, a flat cap or even a fedora could be a great option. A shark tooth necklace won't make you look cool in 2020. It could work for a 90s-inspired party, but there's no way it'll match the rest of your outfit today. Jewelry is fun and can be a perfect final touch, but just make sure to keep it simple. Long hair looks good on both women and men, but there's one important rule. It should be friendly, glossy, and healthy. Don't hesitate to cut it off if you have split ends. It's just hair after all, and it will grow back. If you got a long, greasy, and possibly receding ponytail, it's high time you headed to a barber shop to get an excellent crew cut. Oh, it's sunny outside. Sometimes wearing sunglasses is inevitable, but don't forget to store them correctly. When you no longer need them, don't keep them on the top of your head. It's acceptable to put them in your breast pocket, but ideally, you need to have a case for them to prevent scratching the lenses. You don't want to wear clothes that are 2 sizes smaller than you are. Clothing that's too tight means the collar on your button-up shirt almost chokes you, while the lower button tears off, revealing your belly. If the shirt is a good fit, but the collar is too tight, it's okay to unbutton a button or two, but don't go too far. A half-open shirt, especially if you're exposing your chest hair, is not a great look. What's inside your pockets matters too. Suppose you have your pockets stuffed with coins, papers, old receipts, keys, and maybe a bagel you grabbed for breakfast, but apparently haven't finished. Well, in that case, it's definitely gonna spoil your look. Try to find a bag that would fit in all the things you need every day. Just one tip, try not to opt for backpacks, unless you're a college student who probably needs many books and papers. A good overall look is usually made up of small details. So ungroomed hair and nails will instantly show that you're no fashionista. Look after your clothes. Make sure they're not wrinkled and there are no stains on them. Follow the rules on the clothes label. If it says to dry clean your item, don't try to wash it in the washing machine or it'll be ruined. Tumbling the clothes can be a pretty lousy idea too, since it can degrade the fabric. Wooden hangers are good for two reasons. They keep your clothes organized and will keep moths away. Keep your shoes in good shape too. Don't forget to wash and polish them. Polish softens the leather, making it last much longer and protects it from various destructive factors. Hey, you're looking good!
The largest sandcastle in the world is located in Denmark. It's over 69 feet tall. 30 sand sculptors who created it used more than 5,000 tons of sand. To make it more durable, they added 10% of clay, together with a layer of glue. They built it to stand tall against long and stormy winters. You can actually spend the night inside a giant potato. The next time you want to get a proper rest in a pretty unique way, you can book a bed inside a 28-foot long, 12-foot wide potato. Well, at least in this cool structure made of concrete, steel, and plaster, that kind of looks like a potato. Teenagers from other decades look different from high schoolers you see today. At first sight, they seem way older, don't they? But it's just because they have a different style. They grew up and kept buying similar clothes they thought looked cool. Now we associate that same style with people that are 50 or 60 years old. So now when we see those pictures from their teenage days, it only feels like they look older. In reality, they just look like the teenagers of today. The same thing will happen with today's teens. They'll keep buying clothes they think look cool when they get older too. That's why future generations will associate their dressing style with old people. Jaguar, black caiman, sloth, giant armadillo. There are many different animals you can find in the Amazon rainforest. But was that right there? Rewind a bit. Yep, right in its center, you can find a humpback whale. It's rare to see one even in the middle of the ocean, and it's really jaw-dropping to find one in the middle of the Amazon. And that's what happened in 2019 when local people found a lifeless humpback. The animal probably washed into the river mouth of the Amazon and ended on land when tides pulled back. Elephants have enormous ears, and normally they hold them out to scan noise back and forth. But there are sometimes distant vocalizations and noise they can hear with their feet. When they detect something that's far away, elephants freeze and lean forward. They transfer weight to their front legs and may even lift up a front foot. People often think apple pie originally came from America, but nope. Apples are actually native to Asia, and the first recorded recipe for apple pie appeared in England. When a material fades in the sun, where do you think the color goes? A certain material gets the color from the regions of molecules called chromophores. They absorb photons at particular wavelengths. Photon is the basic unit of light. Some photons that don't get absorbed are re-emitted, and their wavelength determines the color we see. When you expose a material to sunlight or photons of higher energy, it can damage its chromophores, which is why they won't be able to emit photons at certain wavelengths. Red materials fade in sunlight the most. Their chromophores emit red light in a way that they mop up photons of the rest of the wavelengths. You're preparing a meal, cutting the vegetables, and oh no, here come the tears. We cry when we cut onions because breaking the skin releases enzymes and sulfenic acid. When they combine, they produce a gas that spreads through the air and irritates our eyes. This prompts the tear glands that start producing tears to flush this irritating acid out. Your brain can't perform two things that ask for high-level brain function at the same time. Yep, you can't really multitask. We can't consider low-level functions such as pumping blood and breathing in multitasking. Only those actions you really have to think through. So what you see as multitasking is rapidly switching between two or more tasks. Try to move your feet and hands in the opposite direction. Sit on a chair and turn your left leg clockwise. Draw an 8 shape with your left hand at the same time. Or do the same with the right hand and leg. It seems like your leg changed its direction, right? It's what happens with almost everybody. If you turn your leg counterclockwise, the same will happen. When you get on a roundabout that's spinning really fast, you can feel that strange force, and it seems like it wants to throw you off. Our planet is like a huge roundabout that's spinning in space at approximately 1,000 miles per hour. But we don't feel that spinning force because there's another force acting on our planet and on us: gravity. It holds us firmly to the ground around 1,000 times more strongly than our planet is spinning and trying to catapult us into space. The toothpaste contains sweeteners because it has detergents that create foam when you brush your teeth, and it needs something that will mask the awful soapy taste they bring. Of course, sugar is out. But there are other sweeteners that do a nice job with covering detergents. These sweetener chemicals attract water. They keep water molecules locked in the toothpaste, so it doesn't dry out. Have you ever noticed how you're often less hungry when it's hot outside? All the metabolic processes that are happening in our body, including digestion, produce heat. For every 1,000 calories you eat, your body converts only 250 into energy that's actually useful. The rest of the calories turn into waste heat. When it's hot outside, your body is working pretty hard to keep you safe from overheating, so it doesn't really need the extra heat it generates digesting a big lunch you had. That's why your body kinda dials back your appetite for a while and pulls more energy from the fat reserves it previously stored. Sometimes dreams can seem more vivid when you don't sleep in your own bed. When you spend the night in a hotel or some other place you're not quite familiar with, you experience something scientists call the first night effect. In one of the studies, they discovered the left side of our brain sleeps lighter than the right side during the first night in a new environment. It's probably like this because of an evolutionary mechanism that keeps us alert to potential predators and dangers. There are probably no monsters under the bed in your hotel room, but you wouldn't be so sure if you had lived thousands of years ago. You're also more likely to wake up during your first night in new surroundings. When you wake up a lot, you remember your dreams way better, which is why they can feel more vivid in such situations. You're at work, you just had lunch, and now you're getting ready to finish the final task for the day. But you just can't. You got such an energy crash you want to lie down and take a nap to feel alive again. This can be because of a carb-heavy meal, not getting enough sleep the night before, or not drinking enough water. And there's one more possible reason. There's a small region in your brain that controls your internal body clock, also called circadian rhythm. This part sends signals to your body to release melatonin, a snooze-inducing hormone. This way, it makes you feel sleepy and lowers your body temperature too. You go through a miniature version of this process somewhere between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. too. We still don't know why, but some researchers think it could be because our circadian rhythm has both a primary 24-hour cycle and a 12-hour one. You may feel like the best ideas come to your mind when you're trying to fall asleep. The transition from the point where you're awake to where you're asleep is called the hypnagogic state. Scientists believe it could be related to creativity. Mary Shelley said that the idea for her popular novel, Frankenstein, occurred during the waking dream stage. Salvador Dali, a famous artist, called this phase the slumber with a key. In this state, your mind feels free to wander and has no mobile phones, other people, or something else that can disrupt it. That's why it has more space for some spontaneous ideas and creative thoughts. If you fall asleep right after you enter this state, you'll probably forget most of your inspirational ideas. So, keep a paper and pen by your bed, just in case. 98 degrees Fahrenheit is a temperature that feels hot, even though the human body is of the same temperature. Well, actually, this is about the average temperature of our core. Our skin is about 93 degrees Fahrenheit, but our fingers, toes, and face can be much colder. The receptors we have in our skin react to differences and changes in temperature. When you touch your bare stomach with your hand, the hand will register warmth, but it will be cooler for your stomach, even though both of them have skin temperature. Similar to that, if you put a finger in your mouth, the inside will feel way warmer to the finger than to your tongue.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share